Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Marvel Legends Mr. Hyde Build-A-Figure Wave Iron Man / Tony Stark in parentheses AI, which is basically just a bright yellow and red Iron Man figure with the AI head if you want it, which will be interchangeable with just about every other Marvel Legends figure. Whether or not that head will fit as far as like proportions go, well, that's going to be up in the air. I can't test every single figure. But it is basically the exact same thing as the 80th anniversary Iron Man figure, just in different colors and with a new accessory. So there's not a lot to talk about, but there is some, so we're going to do that. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. And this guy stands just about 6 3/4 inches to the top of the head, which makes him pretty close to 17.5 centimeters. And before we get into the rest of the review, let's do a quick question of the day. For your classic Iron Man figure, like classic design, but a figure, what do you guys like? Do you like the metallic reds, metallic yellows? Do you like the more like sports car look with the glossy yellow and semi-glossy red? What's your cup of tea? I personally am a big fan of the metallics, but if I had my choice, I think I like the sports car look of the non-metallic things. I don't know. I'm more of an MVC type of fan, so once I review that figure, that'll be my favorite probably, but we'll see. This one I do like a lot though. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about the aesthetics. It is basically the same thing as the 80th anniversary Iron Man, except that one had the swapped arms. That's fixed now. That's good. The upper arms have the right muscles on the right sides of the body. That's a good thing. I told you in my review for that guy that the legs seem to be reversed also, the lower legs. The sculpt is a little bit strange for the yellow part, the top part of the calf. So I'm going to say that is okay the way it is. I can tell what is supposed to be going on there. But it does look to me like this part of the boot is still on the wrong side. It's hard to say because of the way it's sculpted. It has like a slant, like this one leans in a little bit, but then it has a slight curve to it. So I'm tempted to say that these are still on the wrong sides, but that's going to be hardly noticeable for most people. Otherwise, the aesthetics are pretty good. I do wish the legs closed more because they actually have a very small thigh gap on this, which is amazing because they almost never have thigh gaps that are small on Marvel Legends these days. But for some reason, the way they did it is you can't get the legs to stay closed. So that's kind of a bummer, but it does have really nice proportioning. Just like I said about the 80th anniversary, the original release of this mold, it's one of their better sculpts. The thighs aren't exceedingly short, the shoulders are broader than the hips. It has more or less your comic book proportions. The shoulders are not forward from the neck. That's a good thing. You can see how the shoulders are. If you go straight up from the shoulder, the neck is actually in front of the shoulder. That's pretty good. They did a really solid job on the sculpt on this guy, and it was true then, it's still true now. Very, very good looking. I personally love, for this figure, the glossy yellow. I think it's fantastic. I wish the red was more uniform. Some parts are fairly glossy, some parts are not at all. And then if you look at the head, it's super shiny. So it's not as uniform as I would like, but it is still a very aesthetically pleasing figure. The last thing I really have to say, well, I guess there's two things. One is the painted face on the AI head. I think they did a pretty good job with that. I was worried they were going to not do any paint, or that it was going to be real terrible, and it's not. I think it's pretty good. I will say, though, for the last thing, I do wish, other than generally it could use more shading, of course, because it has none, I do wish the repulsor on the chest, or the arc reactor, wasn't just solid blue. You know, I wish it actually looked like it was lit up and not just a painted blue ball. But otherwise, it's pretty aesthetically pleasing, so I'm pleased with it, obviously. And so for the aesthetics, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. A little bit of shading would go a long way, like little touches here and there, but the sculpt on this really sells it, and then I like the glossiness, so I'm very, very happy with it. As far as accessories go, we do have the AI head, then we do have the regular helmeted head, which obviously can step in or fill in, whatever. You can pretend it's just a regular Iron Man with Tony Stark inside if you want to, so that's cool. Nicely done with the blue peeking through in the eyes and mouth. I like that. We have the 2 fist hands that come out in the package, and then 2 repulsor blast hands. No painted option, just peg hole option, which is okay if you want to use the 2 repulsor blast accessories, which are blue and do line up pretty well with that chest reactor, so that's okay. But definitely no painted hands, so no posing like he's about to shoot, unless you want holes in his hands. Decent batch of accessories. I'll go 8 out of 10 for that. Alright, let's go ahead and run through the articulation. The head can lean all the way back, which is good for Iron Man. He can do a flight pose pretty well. It leans forward well. Obviously, you have the ball peg at the top to give him a little bit of extra attitude or whatever, which I don't know if the AI would be useful. For the AI, if it would be useful. The AI head does seem quite large. This is a common thing for Iron Man in general, and with the AI head, it doesn't really matter because it's just like a hologram, but it is quite a lot larger than the helmeted head, not even counting the hair, so that's a little strange, but it does function well enough. Shoulders better than horizontal, that's good. Obviously you get your full rotation, bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbow works nicely. You do get your wrist swivel and hinge. The repulsor hands have no hinge, they just are for shooting repulsors, so that's fine. I think that's alright. Ab crunch is not as tight as I would like it, but it does work well enough. Gives you enough range for a flight pose for Iron Man. That looks pretty good. I like that, and it does lean forward. It's one of the better ab crunches. You can see here, there's no giant gap, which they seem to do quite often, and I don't know why, because it's definitely not necessary. There have been countless figures with ab crunches that have no giant gap in there, so it's weird. These guys are just pegged in. They don't rotate like the previous one did, of the same suit design. Waist twist, by the way. But they flex enough that you can get the legs out to the side pretty well. And considering we don't have any giant gaps in the thigh here, or in the hip, that's good. It's just another example of how you don't need huge gaps to make articulation work. Bringing the legs forward, yeah, there's a little bit of a kick out to the side, but they do work. That's fine. Going back, you don't get any back because he's got some cheeks. But the legs do work pretty well. Thigh swivel is fine. Double jointed knee works like a double jointed knee. Very nice range there. And then we do get a boot swivel if you want that. Ankle range is really solid. It goes all the way forward, all the way back, and it has a decent enough ankle rocker. So this is another good example of how it doesn't take much to make the figures better. Like, not having a gap in there doesn't cost more. It just requires the design to be good in the first place. Same thing for the hips. They did it all right here. That's what it's supposed to be. The articulation is really well executed on this figure for the most part. So I'll go, I mean, there's nothing extraordinary about it. It's just well executed. So I'm going to go 8 out of 10. Like, we could have better range by changing things around and not having a, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's still really good. And for Marvel Legends standards, it's good, but we have seen better with like ball hinge ankles and stuff like that. That's why I'm not going higher than 8. But this is how you do core basic articulation at this price point. So, final verdict on this guy. I think as far as an Iron Man release goes, other than some shading and some minor paint details or just better articulation like ball hinges and ball pegs and things like that, this is what we're looking for. And even with the glossy paint, I don't think the shading is as necessary. So I'm very, very happy with this. I definitely recommend it to anybody who is looking to pick it up. I'm going to give it a final verdict of 8.5 out of 10. It's definitely one of their stronger releases. I like it. I think anybody who wanted this is going to be happy to get it. And anybody who was kind of on the fence, go ahead and get it. I think you'll enjoy it. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the review, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.